9 plants. Plant them once, harvest from them for years. Some for decades, some for the rest of your life. No replanting every spring, no buying seeds every season, just permanent, productive, self-renewing crops that keep delivering year after year with less work than any annual vegetable you have ever grown. These 9 plants exist. They are available right now. And today, we are going through every single one. Before we begin, if you are new here, welcome to the channel. We bring you honest, practical, food-growing content every single week that helps you grow more with less effort. Hit that subscribe button right now and tap the bell so you never miss a new video. If today's video helps you build a permanent, productive food garden that feeds your family for years from a single planting, a quick thumbs up takes 1 second and helps this reach more gardeners who need it. We appreciate every single one of you. Now, let's go to the video. Okay, annual food growing is a treadmill. Every spring, buy seeds, prepare soil, plant, tend, harvest, and then start the entire cycle over again. Perennial crops step off that treadmill completely. They establish their root systems in year 1, build strength in year 2, and from year 3 onward, they simply produce, reliably, abundantly, and permanently, while demanding a fraction of the time and effort that annual crops require. Today's 9 plants are the best perennial crops available for the home food garden. Let's meet every one of them. Item number 1, asparagus, the king of perennial vegetables. Asparagus. Botanical name, Asparagus officinalis. Best varieties, Jersey Night, Jersey Supreme, and Millennium. Asparagus is the undisputed king of perennial vegetables. A properly established bed produces abundant, delicious spears every spring for 20 to 50 years from a single planting. That is not a typo. Documented asparagus beds 50 years old and still productive exist. The investment in proper establishment pays back more generously and more durably than almost any other food garden decision you will ever make. Plant all male hybrid varieties. Jersey Night is the most widely trusted and most consistently productive. All male varieties produce no berries, directing 100% of the plant's energy into spear production rather than seed. Prepare the bed deeply, 18 inches of loosened, fertile, well-draining soil, because you're creating the foundation for decades of harvest. Plant crowns and trenches, cover progressively as growth emerges, and exercise the most important discipline in all of perennial vegetable growing. Harvest nothing in year 1, harvest very lightly in year 2, and from year 3 onward, harvest freely for 6 to 8 weeks every single spring. Key benefit: the productivity figures for all male asparagus hybrids are extraordinary. Jersey Night produces approximately 3 times more spears per crown than older standard varieties. A bed of 25 crowns, occupying approximately 25 square feet, produces enough asparagus for a family of 4 through the entire spring harvest season. From a planting made once, for decades. Caution: the single most common asparagus mistake is harvesting too early, taking spears in year 1 or heavily in year 2. Every spear harvested in the establishment years directly reduces the root system's energy reserves and permanently reduces the bed's future productivity. The patience of proper establishment is the most important investment in this crop. Respect it. Item number 2, rhubarb, the permanent, zero-fuss spring harvest rhubarb. Botanical name, Rheum X hybridum. Best varieties, Victoria, Timperley Early, and Champagne. Rhubarb is one of the most genuinely permanent and most genuinely low-maintenance perennial food crops available, returning dependably from its dormant crown every spring for 20 or more years, producing abundant harvests of tart, richly flavored stalks that are the foundation of some of the most beloved food traditions in the kitchen garden. It is cold-hardy to Zone 3, thriving in climates that challenge many other perennial crops. Plant crowns in deep, rich, well-draining soil in full sun to light partial shade. The harvesting technique matters. Always pull stalks by twisting gently from the base rather than cutting, which allows the plant to seal the harvest point naturally and reduces disease entry. Remove flower stalks immediately and every time they appear throughout the season. A rhubarb plant putting energy into flowering is a plant taking energy away from stalk production. Divide established crowns every 5 to 8 years when the clump becomes congested and production begins to slow. Key benefit: rhubarb requires essentially zero ongoing maintenance beyond an annual top dressing of compost in early spring and removal of flower stalks through the season. No feeding schedule, no pest management, no disease program, no replanting. The annual compost top dressing takes 5 minutes. The flower stalk removal takes 2 minutes per visit. The return for this genuinely minimal investment is a reliable, generous spring harvest from the same planting for 2 decades. Caution: rhubarb leaves are seriously toxic, containing oxalic acid in concentrations high enough to cause kidney damage and potentially fatal poisoning. The stalks are completely safe to eat. The leaves must never be consumed and should be composted. The oxalic acid breaks down completely during hot composting. Communicate this distinction clearly to every person, especially every child, in the household before the first harvest. Item number 3. Globe artichoke. The most ornamental and most productive perennial vegetable, globe artichoke. Botanical name, Cinera cardunculus varioscolumous. Best varieties: green globe, imperial star, violetto di Chioggia. Globe artichoke earns its place on this list for 2 qualities that no other perennial vegetable simultaneously provides: extraordinary productivity and extraordinary beauty. It grows into a 6-foot architectural clump of deeply divided, silver-green leaves that is genuinely one of the most impressive and most beautiful plants in any food garden, contributing ornamental value equal to any purely decorative plant, while simultaneously producing a generous harvest of large, edible flower buds of genuine culinary quality. One established plant produces 6 to 12 artichoke heads per season and lives productively for 10 to 15 years in warm climates. Every 3 to 4 years, divide the side shoots, called ratoons, that develop around the base of the parent plant. Replant them, and the productivity of the entire planting renews and expands. Full sun is completely non-negotiable. A globe artichoke in shade produces poor harvests regardless of all other conditions being ideal. Key benefit: globe artichoke does something rare in the perennial food garden. It pays back its space allocation twice over simultaneously. The food harvest justifies the space. The ornamental quality would justify the space on its own. Every square foot occupied by a mature globe artichoke is a square foot earning double returns. Beauty and food production in parallel, from the same plant, from the same single planting. Caution: globe artichoke is cold hardy to approximately zone 6 with mulch protection over the crown in winter. In zone 5 and colder, it can be grown as a perennial in containers brought under cover for winter, or as a very productive annual. It develops large enough to produce in its first year from seed started early indoors. In very cold climates, the container approach gives you the ornamental and culinary qualities of this magnificent plant without the cold hardiness limitation. Item number 4. Sea buckthorn. The vitamin C record breaker with a 30-year harvest life. Sea buckthorn. Botanical name, Hippophae rhamnoides. Best varieties: Leucora female, Polmix, or Hergo male. Sea buckthorn is the most nutritionally extraordinary perennial food crop on today's entire list. A thorny, deciduous shrub of remarkable cold hardiness that produces dense clusters of brilliant orange berries containing the highest vitamin C concentration of almost any temperate fruit ever measured. We are talking about 15 times more vitamin C than oranges, per gram. A mature, heavily laden sea buckthorn shrub in autumn is one of the most visually spectacular sights in the food garden. Every branch, every twig packed solid with dense clusters of brilliant orange berries, under the weight of which the branches visibly bend. One productive female plant produces 15 to 25 pounds of berries per season from a shrub reaching 6 to 10 feet tall. The productive lifespan is 30 to 40 years from a single planting, making it one of the most long-term food investments available to any home grower. Cold hardy to zone 2, minus 40 degrees, it thrives where most fruiting plants cannot survive. Key benefit. Beyond vitamin C, which is the most documented headline quality, sea buckthorn berries contain omega-7 fatty acids, vitamin E, carotenoids, and flavonoids in concentrations that make the combined nutritional profile extraordinary. The berries are used for juice, jam, syrup, and oil. The seed oil and pulp oil both have documented skin healing and anti-inflammatory applications. The roots fix atmospheric nitrogen, improving soil fertility for neighboring plants, while the shrub produces its nutritional harvest above ground. Caution: sea buckthorn is dioecious, meaning male and female flowers grow on separate plants. You must plant both a female and a male plant for berry production. One male pollinates up to 6 female plants within a 30-foot radius. Always purchase specifically labeled male and female plants. Unlabeled plants of unknown sex are a gamble. Also be aware that the harvest is extremely difficult because the berries are densely packed around thorny stems. The most effective harvesting method is cutting entire berry-laden branches in late summer, freezing them overnight, and then vibrating the frozen berries free from the stems over a sheet. Item number 5, Turkish rocket, the zero-input perennial that grows anywhere and feeds everyone. Turkish rocket, botanical name, Buneus orientalis. Turkish rocket is the perennial food crop that most consistently impresses gardeners who try it for the first time. Not because it is glamorous or well-known, but because of how extraordinarily productive it is for how extraordinarily little it demands. It grows in poor soil, dry soil, compacted soil, neglected corners where most vegetables flatly refuse to grow. It develops a deep taproot that anchors it through drought and provides drought tolerance that makes it essentially unkillable once established. It self-seeds moderately, maintaining and slowly expanding its presence without any replanting required. The harvest is continuous from early spring through summer. Young leaves with a peppery mustard flavor, young shoots cooked like broccoli florets, and flower heads eaten before they open in a genuinely delicious preparation that resembles purple sprouting broccoli in both appearance and flavor. Key benefit: Turkish rocket is the ideal perennial food crop for beginning perennial gardeners, for difficult garden situations, and for anyone who wants maximum food production for minimum ongoing effort. It is essentially impossible to grow badly. It tolerates the neglect that defeats most food plants. It feeds you reliably from early spring when almost nothing else in the food garden is ready. And it does all of this from a plant you established once and never need to replant. Caution: Turkish rocket self-seeds prolifically in very favorable conditions. Rich, moist soil and full sun can produce more seedlings than you want or need. Deadhead spent flower heads before seeds fully ripen if you want to limit its spread. The deep taproot of established plants makes them very difficult to remove. Every planting is effectively permanent. Position it where it can remain indefinitely and manage its spread through prompt deadheading in productive years. Item number 6. Ostrich fern, fiddleheads. The woodland delicacy that spreads and produces forever. Ostrich fern. Botanical name, Matauchia struthiopteris. Ostrich fern is the perennial food crop for shaded, moist garden situations where almost no other food plant thrives. A large, spectacular, vase-shaped fern reaching 4 to 5 feet tall that naturalizes in woodland and damp conditions to form an increasingly large, increasingly productive colony through underground rhizomes. The edible harvest is the fiddleheads, the tightly coiled new fronds emerging from the crown in early spring, available for 2 to 3 weeks per year and representing one of the most eagerly anticipated and most genuinely delicious seasonal harvests in the food garden calendar. The flavor is distinctive and extraordinary, earthy, nutty, with notes of asparagus and green bean combined in a way entirely unlike any other vegetable. Once established, ostrich fern spreads slowly but persistently by underground rhizomes, producing an ever-expanding colony of crowns, each capable of providing its own annual fiddlehead harvest. Key benefit: ostrich fern solves the perennial food gardener's most persistent challenge, finding productive food plants for shaded, moist areas where conventional vegetables cannot grow. Under established trees, beside north-facing walls, in the damp corners of the garden that receive little direct sun. These are the conditions where ostrich fern thrives and produces its extraordinary seasonal harvest. It converts unproductive garden space into genuinely productive food-growing space. Caution: always cook fiddleheads thoroughly. Boil or steam for a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes before eating. Raw or undercooked fiddleheads have caused documented foodborne illness, including nausea and vomiting. This is not negotiable. Always cook fully. Also harvest a maximum of 1/3 of the emerging fiddleheads from each established crown per season. Taking more than 1/3 weakens the crown and permanently reduces its future productivity by preventing sufficient frond development to power the underground rhizome system. Item number 7. Hardy kiwi, the 40-year productive investment that pays back every season. Hardy kiwi. Botanical name, Actinidia arguta, zones 3 to 8. Actinidia colomicta, zones 2 to 7. Self-fertile variety, Isai. Hardy kiwi is the long-term perennial investment that rewards patience with one of the most generous and most extraordinary harvests available to the home food grower. Grape-sized, smooth-skinned, intensely sweet kiwi fruits requiring no peeling, produced in clusters on vigorous climbing vines that reach 15 to 20 feet on a sturdy trellis and remain productive for 40 to 50 years from a single planting. The flavor of a fully ripe hardy kiwi fruit eaten fresh from the vine is genuinely extraordinary. Sweeter, more complex, and more intensely flavored than commercial fuzzy kiwi, with a tropical sweetness that surprises almost everyone tasting it for the first time. Actinidia arguta is cold hardy to zone 3, surviving winters that would kill most fruiting plants. Actinidia colomicta is hardy to zone 2 and additionally produces the most spectacular ornamental foliage of any fruiting vine, leaves splashed and tipped with pink and white as though hand-painted, making it simultaneously one of the most productive and most beautiful garden plants available. Key benefit: a mature hardy kiwi vine in full production, from its 5th year onward, produces 50 to 100 pounds of fruit per season from a single vine. The nutritional profile is outstanding. Hardy kiwi fruits contain more vitamin C per gram than oranges, significant vitamin E, potassium, and dietary fiber. One vine, properly established and properly trained on a sturdy trellis, produces an abundant harvest of extraordinary fruit for 40 to 50 years from a single planting. The return on investment per dollar and per hour of establishment effort is genuinely difficult to match with any other food plant. Caution: most hardy kiwi varieties are dioecious, requiring both male and female plants for fruit production. Plant one male to every 5 to 8 female plants within 30 feet for effective pollination. The self-fertile variety Isai, Actinidia arguta, produces adequate crops without a male plant and is the best choice for gardeners with space for only one vine. Hardy kiwi requires a genuinely robust trellis. A mature vine with its full summer foliage and fruit load is extremely heavy. Build the trellis structure before planting and build it significantly stronger than you think necessary. Annual pruning is essential to maintain productivity and manage the vine's vigorous growth within the trellis structure. Item number 8. Horseradish, the immortal root that produces every year without fail. Horseradish, botanical name Armoraceae rusticana. Horseradish is quite simply one of the most permanent and most reliable perennial food crops you can establish in a garden. Plant a single root section and it establishes a deep, persistent, essentially immortal root system that returns with complete dependability every single year, regardless of weather, neglect, or imperfect conditions. It requires no replanting, no special care, no feeding schedule, and no disease management. The harvest, thick, pungent roots dug in late autumn and winter when the flavor is most developed, provides a condiment of genuinely superior quality to anything available commercially. Fresh horseradish root grated immediately before serving has a heat intensity, a flavor complexity, and a fresh pungency that processed commercial horseradish simply cannot replicate. The difference is dramatic enough that many people who dislike commercial horseradish discover they enjoy the fresh root enthusiastically. Key benefit: horseradish contains sinigrin and gluconastertian, glucosinolate compounds that break down into allyl isothiocyanate, the compound responsible for its heat and its documented antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, and respiratory clearing properties. Fresh grated horseradish has been used medicinally for respiratory congestion, sinus infections, and as a natural antimicrobial for centuries, uses that modern research has validated through identification of the active compounds. Growing your own gives you access to these compounds at maximum freshness and potency. Caution: contain horseradish planting seriously and permanently. The root system is deep, persistent, and spreads aggressively. Every fragment of root left in the soil after harvesting regenerates a complete new plant. The most effective containment method is growing in a large pot with the base removed, sunk into the ground so the pot rim is at soil level. This allows the plant to behave as a ground-planted specimen, while the pot walls prevent lateral spread beyond the defined planting area. Once established outside a containment system, horseradish is genuinely one of the most difficult plants in the garden to eliminate. Item number 9. Lovage, the most productive and most underrated perennial herb. Lovage, botanical name Levisticum officinale. Lovage closes this list as perhaps the most underrated perennial food crop in the entire food garden, a plant that most people have never heard of and that, once grown, most people cannot imagine their cooking without. It is a large, vigorous, magnificently productive perennial herb that grows to 4 to 6 feet tall from a permanent crown, returns reliably every spring for 10 or more years, and produces an extraordinary quantity of deeply, intensely flavored leaves with a rich, complex celery character that is more concentrated, more aromatic, and more deeply satisfying than actual celery in virtually every culinary application. One mature lovage plant provides enough leaf, stem, and seed harvest for a typical household's cooking needs through the entire growing season. From the first tender leaves in early spring through the tall, productive midsummer plant to the ripe seeds harvested in autumn for use as a spice through winter. Key benefit: lovage is a 3-harvest perennial, and this is the quality that makes it uniquely valuable in the permanent food garden. The leaves through spring and summer provide the celery flavor foundation for soups, stocks, stews, salads, and sauces. The hollow stems are used as drinking straws in Bloody Mary cocktails and herb drinks, a genuinely fun and genuinely flavorful application. The seeds, harvested when fully ripe and dried for storage, are a warm, aromatic, celery-flavored spice used in baking, cheese, and spice blends through the winter months when the above-ground plant has died back. 3 completely different harvests from one permanently established plant. 0 replanting required for any of them. Caution: lovage is a large plant and needs adequate space. Position at the back of the food garden where its 4 to 6 foot height adds architectural structure without shading smaller crops in front of it. It self-seeds moderately in favorable conditions. Collecting and removing the seed heads before they fully ripen manages this if you want to prevent volunteer seedlings appearing throughout the garden. Do not consume lovage in large medicinal quantities during pregnancy. Like several umbelliferous plants, it has traditional associations with uterine stimulation in very large doses, though normal culinary use is entirely safe. 9 permanent crops. 9 reasons to stop replanting from scratch every spring and start building a food garden that works for you year after year. Asparagus, for the decades-long spring harvest. Rhubarb, for zero-fuss, permanent productivity. Globe artichoke, for beauty and food in equal measure. Sea buckthorn, for the most nutritionally extraordinary berry harvest available. Turkish rocket, for zero-input abundance in any soil. Ostrich fern, for the woodland seasonal delicacy. Hardy kiwi, for the 40-year investment that pays back every single season. Horseradish, for the immortal root that never needs replanting. And lovage, for the most underrated, most multi-harvest perennial herb in the food garden. Plant them once, tend them briefly, harvest them forever. Thank you so sincerely for watching today. If today's video has changed how you think about your food garden, please hit that like button right now. Share this with every gardener you know who is tired of the annual replanting treadmill. And if you are not yet subscribed, hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss a weekly upload. We will see you in the very next video. Until then, plant once, harvest forever, and build the permanent food garden you deserve. Happy growing!